Sonictalk.
Hello everybody, welcome to Sonictalk episode 719, recording today on Wednesday the 13th of July. As you can see, I'm at home today because, as I was saying in the pre-show, which if you're a Patreon supporter you will get to see, sometimes get to see it on Twitch as well, it's 30 degrees basically, that even though the weather's cooled down a little bit because of the way the building's designed, it retains heat. There's no way I could do a show, so I'm doing it from here. So we've got a little bit more latency than usual, which might mean there's a little bit of stumbling over each other, but we're going to do our best because we've got a good panel of guests. Before we get there, though, I want to say thank you very much to our friends at Baby Audio and iZotope for supporting the show. We've got messages from them later on, and including coupon codes that you can save big on products. Also, want to say this is a music technology podcast, so we will be talking about all of that kind of stuff. I want to say thanks very much to Paulie, Alex Bow for coming on last week solo. It was one of those perfect storms where we just kind of everybody was busy, they were brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and definitely made the way onto the list, I think, and everybody responded well. So thanks again to Paulie for doing that. And do check out their stuff. I think it's called Vogue Renegade on Facebook if you check the previous stuff. But yeah, please do check that out. So we'll say hello to some people. Let's start with Mark Tinley. Mark Tinley, how are you? We haven't seen you for such a long time.
Hello. I'm all right, actually. Yeah, I am all right. Bizarrely.
Good. I am glad to hear it. How's the shop going?
You haven't seen me for such a long time. The shop is closed at the moment, and has been closed since the end of May, beginning of June, because my wife is ill. So we've been going to Bristol a lot and having some operations, but I've decided that I would rather be at home looking after her than standing in my shop talking to people who don't buy anything.
Well, that's great. Well, all our best wishes go to Gina, and thank you very much for coming on, Mark. I know it has been a long time, but it's great to see you. So I suppose really this is just a kind of catch-up. I mean, hopefully, I should also mention that Rich is playing in Bristol tonight and tomorrow, which is just down the road. I'm going to go tonight, and tomorrow, hopefully, we're going to meet for lunch. So whoever's around, we could do that. Anyway, but let's get on to our guests. More guests. We also have Mr. Yoad Nevo, who's there in Nevo Sound. Yoad, of course, mix engineer, producer, software developer for Waves, a man of many talents. How are you, Yoad?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm very well. Busy as usual, but can't complain. I mean, I can, but I won't.
No, well, you're the man who's got the air conditioning, so it would, that you can remain cool, whereas the rest of us melt in our sort of garage. I can see at least two roof spaces. I'm actually okay, but it's a lot cooler here than it was at the office. Anyway, lovely to see you, Yoad. So hopefully we'll hear a lot more from you in a little bit. And we also have Mr. Gaz Williams, who's there in Bristol. Gaz, well, you are in the roof, and I imagine you are quite hot.
Yes, so I will apologise for any parping that's going on from the nearby road. I've got all my windows open, so apologies in advance for anything like that. But yes, really hot. Glad to be here. Great to see Paulie on the show last week. Wow, cool. Been having a mad old time. Loads of different things going on in my world right now, which is fun. But just off to go and do a load of stuff with the Charlotte Church Late Night Pop Dungeon. And I'm really excited about that because, we got a new set and I think it's going to be amazing. So we got a bunch of festivals. In fact, next Saturday, it's exciting. We're playing Kaleidoscope Festival in London, and then we got asked if we could headline Sunrise Stage at Latitude. Problem is, it's the same day. So we got a barrel off stage in London, and it's about a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah, helicopter.
Yeah.
Go on.
So, no. but that's going to be really exciting, and we're going to be doing this brand new set as well. So we're going to be learning that set next week, and the cameras are going to be rolling because the film, So yeah, it's going to be stuff happening, which is fun. So I got a new bass for it as well, so that makes it all the more exciting.
Go
Anyway,
on, what is your new bass?
What is your
new bass?
It's a Fodera Monarch, so that's what it is.
I've never heard of that.
Yes. Anyway, that's a separate story. Honestly, I could talk forever on that one.
Somebody's just rebooted. Hold on, are we still there? Yeah, no, we got smart. I don't know, something rebooted, but we're all okay. Whenever you hear that sound, you think something's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, well, great to have you all. Actually, I was going to start with you guys because you did a gig last week, didn't you, with Steve Davis, which is I always find this kind of those of you who just don't know the name Steve Davis in musical context, it's quite a random. Steve Davis is kind of multiple years snooker champion, basically. That's Steve Davis. Yes, that's Steve Davis. 6 times world champion. Music, and it's 6 times world champion. Yeah. And you did a modular gig. Let me play a little bit of it. I hope you won't get busted. So this was last weekend. This one takes a little while. This is part 2. It takes a little while to evolve, but it gets to. I won't play it all, but this is where it starts, and it gets to here. That looks like a whole lot of fun and really interesting. Yeah. I mean, because those two get. I'm sorry to spring this topic on everybody, but I did see this and I thought, oh, this would be fun to talk about. That there's quite a lot of electronic beats going on there. It was just such a weird for me to see you in that world, which is not your native, not your native environment. I would say. How was it?
Oh, it's brilliant. But I mean, the 2 days before that, Monday and Tuesday, me and Steve just had this wild musical adventure over 2 nights. It was amazing. It was amazing. So for me, the whole thing I'm doing with Steve is like a voyage. I started a modular journey at the beginning of lockdown. I was really refusing to go down that way. But so I made that sort of stream about that show, and Steve he would watch it regularly, and he would sort of feed back to me. I've known Steve for a number of years, but he'd feed back to me about stuff, and crucially, he talked me out of using a keyboard. So you got to get away from musical notes. You've got to kind of embrace the kind of that new world, getting away from what and your muscle memory and riffs and whatever else it is, and embrace. So that had a profound effect on me. And so then there was a natural thing where we just started sort of jamming together at each other's homes, and then we thought, a gig came along, I think, and there's a whole bunch more going to happen now. So that's really exciting. But for me, it's been brilliant because I've been on this little journey. I've been sort of documenting it to a certain degree, and it feels like as a journey it's kind of going places. So I'm really thankful for all the support I've had, and certainly from Steve, who's been in many ways like a kind of a mentor, and we've it's a really enjoyable. He's quite new to it as well, and he's so kind of open and lovely to sort of talk about really brilliant. What a top chap. Yeah, I mean, when we played the gig on a Wednesday, there were certain things we didn't get that we had got in the previous 2 days. So it's kind of, that's really curious. It's like, how to get to those good bits. I think when you're doing it at the comfort of your own home, you can kind of afford to be a lot more messy and take a while to get to where you want to get to. And, whether there's kind of faster ways in, I'm sure that will come with experience. But thank you very much, though, for asking and for showing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, no, that's the beginning of an adventure. It'd be jolly good fun and well worth following that. So, I mean, hopefully we'll get some more information.
That looks so cool. That gig looks so cool. I'm gonna check it out. And I'm a huge fan of Steve. He's a genius. And actually, maybe there's some similarity between snooker and modular. You plan your shot, you kind of look in all directions, and and all the colors, and which is a bit like knobs, and I'm sure he's really good at it. I bet he is.
Interesting.
I can't see that. I am completely dyspraxic. The likelihood of me even getting a snooker ball to go anywhere near a hole is zero. But when it comes to modular, I could get really into like putting the cables in and all that sort of stuff.
Hey,
so I don't see the correlation, but
can I tell you a little story though? I played a little trick on Steve on that gig. I didn't tell him about it. I prepared it in advance, but I went and found on YouTube his 147 break. It was the first ever televised 147 break. That in snooker, if you don't know snooker, that's getting, that's the maximum thing you can do.
That's all the balls, yeah.
All the balls, yeah. Every pot, black, red, black, as many. So, I've got a sample module called the Rample. It's got 4 tracks on there. So what I did was I grouped it into 4. I sort of had cue shots. So I sampled all of the things from that one from Steve's 147. So I got like cue, and then I got balls hitting, and then I got balls going into the pocket, and then on the 4th one I had like the big cheer and the 147 break, on the 4th one. And then so I think on the video on my first YouTube on my channel there's a part 1 and a part 2. It's at the end of part 1, and what I do is I swap the drums out that I've been using for all the snooker samples to see if he'd notice.
Oh, brilliant.
And guess what? He didn't notice. No,
oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah, but I mean,
but maybe he's zoned that sound out because he's got so used to hearing it.
Yeah. But I mean, it is, I don't know how obvious. I don't know how obvious it actually is out of context, but you can check that out on YouTube. Hey, that's a good little plug for my video, wasn't it? And that wasn't what I was planning there.
Excellent.
But yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to have to go and watch it. It sounds fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, well, we've got a bunch of things to get through. I mean, it's been this time of year, summer, we often have like absolutely nothing to talk about because everybody takes time off. Quite rightly, why wouldn't you? I mean, I had a holiday, and people do. People don't do kind of stuff. But there was a couple of things. One news item that came up that I really enjoyed was basically this from Chris Midieri put it up. And
but first, a look at some of the latest hardware and software for musical micros.
Well, this is a professional music synthesizer which can create up to 8 different instrument sounds simultaneously, 8 different so-called voices. Now, of course, a human being can't play all 8 sounds at once.
So, I'll probably get busted for this because it's part of the BBC archive thing. This Fred Harris and Tony Hastings from Steinberg, they were showing Steinberg's, I think it must have been Pro 24, obviously, in this new concept of MIDI, and it's very apt at the moment because obviously we recently lost Dave Smith, and he was so instrumental in it. I thought, but boy, was this a throwback! I mean, I'm kind of loath to be too, this is how it used to be in the old days. But looking at that audio and the interface for Steinberg Pro 24 actually made me anxious because I was looking at it and I was thinking, I remember when I got that, and it was so hard to use as a beginner, and I ended up doing sessions where it was really stressful because I really didn't know what I was doing. I mean, we probably all remember that to a degree, but they were showing that was an Atari. I think it was an Atari 1040 ST, Steinberg Pro 24, and Ensoniq. What was that EP? You would probably know that, Mark, because it was Ensoniq something or other, wasn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't paying attention to that. Didn't see that.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I remember the Pro 24. It was great, but I remember the incarnation, the previous incarnation, which was I don't remember what it was called, but it was like on an Atari with 4 function keys on the side, and it didn't have a graphic interface. It just had sort of a green bank screen, and the activity meter when you played notes, it shows you like dollars, stars, sign. That was the kind of the MIDI activity, and it had
on an Atari.
On an Atari 3ST. It was I don't remember what it was called. It had like 4 kind of metallic-looking function keys on the side. No graphic interface. It was just text. It had 8 tracks, and then the Pro 24 came. out, which was amazing. I know what you mean about it being kind of hard to work with. It had segments, and then it had patterns, and then it had an arrangement and all those things. But it was great. It was amazing.
It looked like a game of patience, because you had all those sort of diamonds. It looked like, because you couldn't see very clearly, it looked like there were different sort of suits of cards. Mark, you like me started out in that kind of world, didn't you? I mean,
I started on.
Do you think?
Well, I started doing something on a Spectrum ZX or something, 48K thing, and then I started reading Sound on Sound or Music Technology magazine, and read a whole article about somebody who was making music for film or television, and they were talking about Amigas and Atari STs, and I had no interest in playing games, so I bought the Atari 520 ST. But before that, I was working in a studio with this guy called Daryl, who I did the Garden of Eden with, and he had a Commodore 64 with Pro 16 on it. So it was all pattern-based. And I still write music in pattern-based now, so I still prefer using Ableton to Logic, even though I kind of had to use Logic a lot for work. But I still think of everything in blocks, in those kind of pattern-based things. So I think Pro 16, you had to build all your patterns and then you'd chain them together at the end. But I wonder if that was what you were talking about, Yoad, because they might have done Pro 16 on the Atari as well as on the Commodore 64.
Yeah, I think it was the same, because the video you sent, the link you sent, it looks exactly like that, but running on an Amiga. And also the Amiga had 4 function keys, so I think it must have been ported to both platforms, because it looked very similar. Yeah, it was a tracker basically.
Yeah, very similar.
I mean, it kind of worked like a Roland MC500, didn't it? If you could use a Roland MC500, you could progress into that world quite well. Sorry, I talked over.
Yeah. No, that's probably very true. Gaz, were you Atari Steinberg, or did you go a slightly different route?
That video that you shared there, the latter half of it concerns the BBC platform with the hybrid or the music. Initially Music 500 and then Music 5000, which it was an 8-voice FM synthesizer, but also a sequencer. And I had one, and I think I've talked on earlier podcasts about it, but it was my starting point in music technology. So, I think I got it when I was about 14 years old. So it was a really opened up like a really exciting new world for me, which was sequencing. And I started with Music 500, which was using this programming language called Ample. And it's pretty much like BASIC. And a lot of the words, I was learning BASIC at the time as well. And, you could you could sort of, if you could sort of write in BASIC, you could then use this Ample. And because it was all part of the whole kind of BBC, which obviously in the UK, the BBC Micro was a program or what?
Schools, wasn't it?
Yes, and so every school had a BBC Micro, or many, or initially just one. That computer was really important in my life. My mum came up with a piece of software for helping teachers that ran on the BBC in the mid-80s. So I was really close to the BBC. So that sequencer then was a really, it was already on the computer that I knew really well. So I was writing music initially in these, strings, like BASIC really. And if, so you'd use, and I think this video shows it as well. If you wanted to put a note, you would type the note. If you wanted to put an A, say you played a C and then you wanted to play an A, well, if you wanted the A to be above the C, you did it capital. If you wanted it to be below the C, you do it lowercase, and just things like that. So it's a kind of curious way of composing music, but having never seen a GUI before, you just kind of get on with it. But
That's
then when
what it
Music
is, yeah.
5,
Interesting.
Music 5000 came out, that had a GUI then. It was an enormous shift. And I mean, I loved it. Everybody, I think, who was on that platform loved it as well. And really, that really was more like a tracker. You were sort of dealing more with cells. But the thing is, it was kind of cool is that 8-voice FM, it was a full FM synth. So you had access to quite a lot of its kind of synthesis. So it's a lot more sophisticated, I think, than perhaps a lot of other things at the time. It sounded good. But I mean, the box was the most boring.
Was that like the Yamaha thing?
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, box. But this box had nothing on it at all except a serial cable, like ribbon cable, to the computer, and a DIN plug for the output, not MIDI. But you could get a MIDI. You could get a MIDI expander for it. I never got that. I didn't have any MIDI instruments back then, anyway. But that gave me my start. So seeing this, super nostalgic for me. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
and it was a brilliant scene as well. It was a brilliant scene around that back in the day as well.
Yeah, lots of people in the chat room saying we should have had a special mention of Leslie Judd in the green spangly catsuit. Which she was the poster frame. I obviously didn't watch. I must have missed that a little bit because they obviously used that as the poster frame. Leslie Judd
Fred
was
Harris. Fred Harris.
Yeah, I think they must have been something to do with Blue Peter at some point. Those people, everybody was like a Blue Peter. A play school, all of those things. This is very UK centric. You'll have to check the BBC archives out. I think you can see them on YouTube, and they're all very available. Okay, I'm going to just drop quickly in with a message from our friends over at Baby Audio, because I know that we're going to end up otherwise backloading everything. So let me just get my everything up and ready to go. So here we go. Some audio would be good, but anyway, we haven't got any audio, never mind. Don't know what that is. So yes, Baby Audio makes creative effects plugins designed to add colour and depth to your mixes. They won Plugin of the Year, Future Music, Computer Music Magazine, and nominated for SOS Awards 2 years in a row. Worth checking out Crystalline. It's an algorithmic reverb plugin which seems to be a big favourite amongst a lot of us. Inspired by 20th century classic studio reverbs, but offering higher fidelity thanks to 21st century computing power. Reverb plugin with a variety of creative features such as the ability to tempo sync, pre-delay, and reverb decay times. If you want to get 15% off, go to babyaudio.com and check out with the code ST15, and that will give you 15% off any purchase. But use that code ST15 and they'll know where you came from. And in the meantime, I'll try and figure out why there wasn't any noise there. But never mind. Maybe we should get on to another topic. Let's see what we're going to go to now. Oh my, what's going on, Greg? What happened then? Mark, what's happened? I'll turn that down. That sounded like something's got a malfunction. Yes, let me see where I go. Well, actually, what I might go for is the ID drum machine. Yeah, this is. I thought this was a great one. So we'll just run this. This is part of the Telecom Beats, which I'm guessing is sponsored by the Deutsche Telekom German company. And we've got Matthew Johnson, Lauren Flack, Frank Ryburn, Jessica Jamaica, Kink, and a couple others. And this is just basically Guess the Drum Machine. And these are all producers, and they quite often do stuff where they're just recognising their DJs, or they listen.
It's not a Korg DDD1.
The clap's quite special. The timbale is a bit special.
Anyway, I'll stop there because what I was trying to explain is basically this this series. What they often do is just have DJs and they play really obscure 12-inch records and they have to guess who it is. And this is a sort of an extension of that. It's a really good series actually, and some really good, interesting insights. But this was 10 drum machines, and I must admit I didn't do as well as I thought I would, because a lot of them were pretty right in my pocket. I got a few of them, but one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if anybody else found the same thing, but just that process of going ding 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 ding, because you're used to either that from the drum machine or basically just playing all the notes on a sampled ESX24 or so. You immediately think you know it because that sequence of sounds is so familiar. It's really curious. I don't know, Yoad, did you get any of those, or I'm sure
I
you've got a good set of
didn't watch
ears.
the whole thing. I thought that this one you just played was a 505, wasn't it? A Roland 505.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't watch the whole video then. I have to say that I thought I used to be good at that, but you know, after so many years of going through so many samples and so many sort of processed versions of and distorted and going through tape and this of all these drum machines, it's kind of a big blur a little bit. I recognize the link drum and a DMX and drum tracks, and obviously RX 11 and 808 CR78. I have the sound 606. Obviously, I have the sounds. Alessis HR16, Kawai K100 or K50, R50. Sorry, I know those really well. Obviously 909, but the other ones, if they're more obscure, then I never had them or never, and just know them from samples. Then like a 505, I never had, but I know it was like. It came out after the 606, and it's all sample based and kind of had that sort of more modern Roland sound. But it could be a Yamaha or something.
One thing I want to do is big shout out from Bill Youngman. His programming was amazing because a lot of it was just like I didn't think those drum machines could do some of the things that he made them do, and that was really, really good. Gaz, did you? I bet you were you wanted the six. Was it the 66? Was your favourite? Was that the
606? Nick, I confess I haven't watched this yet. I'm so sorry. So I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend anything. But it sounds really cool. Mind you, my interest generally with drum machines has been ones that you can create your own sounds on. Like I got the Vermona DRM one here, and that's my interest. Really, always has been. Really, it's not about. I've never really liked.
There were a few people said, "Was that the Vermona?" A couple of shout outs were happening on.
That's cool.
Was that the Vermona? Yeah. So there's definitely, it got a shout out for sure.
Is it like a quiz then? Is it sort of a quiz? Like a?
Well, no, they just play it. They play it, and then while it's playing, they have comments from them, saying, "Oh, wait, hold on, I don't know what that is. Oh, wait, that first one, incidentally, was an Alesis HR16. I'll give you that for nothing."
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get that at all until I think right towards the end. That had a very specific pitched up snare sound, which was very like a piccolo snare, which was very popular at the time. And I think I think like there, but
like Yoad said, you really need to be really intimate with the actual devices because working with the samples invariably they are, messed around with or whatever. But cool, I will definitely watch it. Sorry, didn't do my homework though.
That's all right. Second one was an a Korg Electride ER1. I know, Mark. I mean, you like me probably had a bunch of drum machines. I mean, some of the drum machines that I had were definitely not there, like the Korg DDM 110. The DDM.
I had that.
I can't remember what it was. That was terrible.
Yeah, and the 220 was the Latin percussion thing. Yeah, but when that drum machine came out, because I bought a 909 from Soho Soundhouse on offer for £169, and then I remember insuring it for £1,000 because the recommended retail price on it was £9.99, and Soho Soundhouse had them stacked up in boxes, like loads and loads of them. And I felt all pleased with myself about that drum machine. Plugged it in when I got home, and I thought, these don't sound like drums. The tom-toms don't sound like tom-toms at all. So when that DDM 110 thing came out, I was like, oh, I've got to get one of them. So for me, that digital drum sound surpassed the sound of the TR-909 at the time.
Are you telling me did you sell the TRA? Did you sell the 909 to buy the DDM 110?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, I think I subsequently bought other 909s as life went on, because by the end of the 80s, they started using them in house music. And then I sold my 909 to my brother Adam for, I don't know, probably about 150 quid, I expect, something like that. And then he went on top of the pops with the number plate with the Adamski thing, and everyone went, oh, that's the drum sound everyone's using. So, I mean, he kind of helped to popularise it. But I also sold my 303 for 50 quid. So, you know, I got bored of it, and I was just like, yeah, I'm bored of this. But I can buy a Behringer one now for about 100 quid off Amazon, can't I? Yeah. So. And then the last drum machine I bought was a TR-606 clone, the Behringer one. And I had it here for about 5 minutes and got bored of it and took it to the shop and sold it. So I think drum machines are brilliant, but I just get bored with the format of it. And it's much easier when you see that kind of like maths kind of paper grid on the screen, and you know that those 16 squares going that way, you can just click in things and put beats in them. It's much more visual to do it on a computer. And then if I'm using something like Ableton and I can put the drum sounds in the drum rack, I can put mixtures of drum machines in, so I don't have to stick to having the 909 kick with the 909 snare, etc., etc. But what I really got from this, watching this clip, is that, like, the human brain is so fascinating in that we can hear a 909 snare, right? Maybe I heard that the first time in like 1982 or 1983 or whenever I bought that first one. And I can identify a 909 snare and things. I've somehow got this memory for that sound, but it gets really precise. Like, I can hear the difference between an Oberheim DMX and a Lindrum, but they're so similar, or a Drumulator. They're so similar, but then they're different by this tiny amount, and our brains are able to zoom in on that and just get that kind of sonic fingerprint. I mean, how did we do that?
As humans, humans are really good at recognizing sonic patterns. Or the science and the physics of audio recognition. We're generally very, and that's why I was surprised I did so badly. I mean, maybe I wasn't familiar with some of those drum machines, but I do remember the Kawai K50, or R50 and R100. I used the R50 all over the first Goldfrapp album. It was just, there was something about those sounds, when you crunched them up a bit, they just sounded bloody great, especially, you know, really kind of sitting in with real drums. There was something about them. And I'm surprised I didn't get more, but yeah, it's true. We are able to recognise sound. I mean, it's true, isn't it, Yoad? I mean, I think it's more than smell, isn't it? It's the single most sort of recognisable attribute we can get.
Like Mark said, the 909 is very, you know, you can hear it, the hi-hat, the open hat, the 909 open hat, you can hear it after it's been dropped or whatever, phased, or in whatever, you know, you can hear it on a techno track, on a house track, on an EDM track sometimes, you know, but very, very processed. And it's still, and the crash, the cymbal is so recognizable as well. It's just that kind of...
well, it's the way it ends, isn't it? It's just,
just...
That's it's a fascinating video. I mean, it's well worth a watch. Well worth a watch.
Can I just say one other thing about drum machines, which I don't get at all? And that is, I was on Facebook Marketplace scrolling through, and I saw a Lesis, I think it was SR16, and it was like 300 quid or something like that. And I was thinking, what the hell? Like, why is that so expensive? And then it said, there was another link to it, and it said, buy one new here. And I didn't realise that they still make not the HR16, the grey one, but the one that came out after that. They still make that, and they're still selling it, and people are buying them. Like, it's like, why would anyone use that? So it's like, I don't get it. But young people must have some kind of affinity towards making music with them. Yeah, they make it. I think
they're a classic, though, I reckon. Because it was sort of do it all.
Why? But why can't I just put the samples in my computer and just go like, actually, I like the kick, I like that snare.
No.
I'm not so keen on that bit, and then I just use the bits that will give me that classic sound without having to buy that drum machine. I mean, is there anything special about the timing of it or the interface? Or it's not. It's not even like it's got like loads of knobs all over it I could grab and do things with. It's one of those program the thing through a ridiculously small letterbox LCD interface.
It had good pressure on it, didn't it? Though, when the drum machines came out, you could sort of play with kind of pressure things on it. I think couldn't you do rolls on it? It was one of the first ones.
I don't know. I'm not a drummer. So.
Good.
Sorry.
The Alisys had velocity sensitive pads, but the curve on them was horrible. It was like really, really quiet, and then you hit it hard and it exploded. It was like really bad. But it was the first one that was 16-bit, and it was kind of, the cymbals, the hi-hats, the ride and everything. It was really clear, and even the bass drum had a kind of, because it had more headroom. I loved, like Nick said, I loved the R50. It was great, but it had like a kind of curtain, between you and the sound. It wasn't really coming out. But when you processed it in the studio, it was great. I love that snare number 2.
Had a crunch to it. Yeah. Okay, right. Well, I was just wrestling with some technical issues there, but I can't really do much about it. I was trying to throw some web pages up, but that apparently isn't working at the moment. Another thing to fix for next week. Anyway, while I maybe tinker with that, we'll have a little bit of a word from our other sponsors, who, of course, are iZotope, as we know.
iZotope Producers Club is a one-of-a-kind membership for producers ready to take their tracks to the next level. Once you join, you'll gain access to powerhouse iZotope plugins and a curated selection of tools from our partners, such as Melodyne from Celemony. Plus, as long as you're a member, you'll get every future update to the iZotope plugins in your membership for no extra cost. We'll also regularly serve you new curated content like exclusive inspiration-sparking sample packs and preset packs, and industry-leading training ranging from our own tutorials to vocal production lessons from the world-renowned Berklee Online, taught by Grammy-winning producer and engineer Prince Charles Alexander. With new content being added every month full of valuable production techniques, tips and tricks, and solutions to common production problems, becoming a member is an investment in your career that grows as you and your career do. For more information on iZotope Producers Club, head to iZotope.com.
Okay, and we want to say also thanks to them for their support, because you can save 10% off any iZotope plugin by using the code S. Oh, if I can read it, sorry, the screen's so much smaller now on this mute screen. Let me just get that. Save 10% by using the code Sonic10 off any purchase of iZotope plugin, and you can use this landing page, which is iZotope.com/Sonictalk, and it'll give you all the information on how to do that. And once again, we thank them for their support of the show. Okay, it was Amazon Prime Day yesterday, which seems to be a kind of big deal when it comes to sales. Quite often it sort of coincides with me needing some piece of technology. It wasn't quite so much last. I think I bought a new battery charger. So this is a 2800. So I got one of those. I got some. I lost my my show sort of bum bag. I bought a new one of those. I didn't get, but nothing really really moved me this time. I don't know if anybody had any Amazon Prime moments and picked up a load of stuff. Gaz, you sounded like you bought a bass. Did you buy any kind of accessories or cases or straps? Did you have any Amazon Prime action?
Yeah, I had some things I wanted to look for, but they weren't in the sale. So yeah, been a disappointing one for me. I didn't really see much. No. Sorry.
If you want to buy a telly, it's probably if you want to buy a telly or that
what all that is?
Or an Alexa.
Some good. I thought actually there was a 16 terabyte drive for 220 quid, and I thought, okay, I know 18 terabytes, 220 quid.
Wow.
Yeah, 18 terabytes. So I thought,
good time to buy storage.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well, of course.
Is that what's going on Amazon? All that blue kind of thing that it keeps flashing up at me. I've missed out on all of this then.
Yeah, that was yesterday, mate. They might extend it a bit.
Still today, they're doing it. They extended it.
I bought some like little letter things to put on my Crocs. It's not going to let me show you that, is it? Look.
I'm not going to let them show you. Oh, I see. No, that's quite nice. Yes, you could write rude words on your feet.
I'm going to write rude words on my feet, yeah.
Yeah. Yoad, you usually get the doorbell. If it's Prime Day yesterday, they would be arriving today, I'm imagining, right?
You know what? I wasn't even aware that it was. But I did order the Hydrasynth Explorer last night. I couldn't resist it anymore. It's, it just had to be done. It's no, I don't know where to put it because it has to. One of the reasons is that it has a poly aftertouch keyboard, albeit small keys, mini keys, but still, I'm fine with that. Actually, I have them on the mini log, and it's fine. The thing is, I may have to put it here. It has to be next to me. The thing that really sealed the deal is I wasn't aware of it, but there's an editing software for it. So for me, that's because the Explorer is a little bit more fiddly because you have to to flip between the pages of the macros and the mutations. You only have 4 knobs. But being able to play, pigments and stuff like that as a controller, but the sounds, it's just, and I have to say, there's some guys who make libraries for it. I don't remember, something like Ultra or Ultimate or something like that, which are amazing. It's just that is worth buying the synth for. Just those presets, they're so good.
It's interesting. The thing about the Hydrasynth generally as well. I mean, I think the suites. I like the Deluxe. I've reviewed all 3 actually, and you basically get a Hydrasynth Explorer in a small case. But the MPE keyboard on a small thing is worth. But when you're programming a Hydrasynth, it's so enjoyable to make sounds on. It's actually quite unusual for a synth to kind of make you want it. It really does encourage you to do that, and because often you're looking at it and you're just going, I wonder if I can do this, and you go, oh yeah, I've still got another envelope, or I've still got another LFO, or I've still got another oscillator, or I've still got another mutator, whatever it is. There's just so much stuff there, and I think it's going to be a bit of a classic, that one. I mean, some people say that they don't get on with the sound of it, but I mean, I don't find that myself. I do think it's a pretty impressive synthesizer. For sure.
Yeah.
You haven't got any. Have you got any ASM in your life? Have you got the desktop?
I think I want the Explorer. It's battery powered as well. See, you can. What is it? Eight AA's. With all that synth power and the poly aftertouch. Yeah, fantastic. And it's cheap as well, isn't it? Really? What is it?
I don't know. It's not
$470 or something.
Yeah.
Not expensive. Okay, interesting.
And if you take out the VAT, which I get back, I just couldn't not buy it.
Okay.
As a synth head,
438.
It's too important to synth to skip. I think.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Well, like I say, I didn't buy any musical stuff. I mean, I was just trying to think. It's the sort of time where you buy kind of power banks, power supplies, hard drives, things that are combustible. That you tend to get. Yeah. It's a good time to do that, because then you pick them up cheap. I mean, SSDs. What I've been doing is I've been buying these little NVMe cases, which you can get from Ugreen. They're little tiny things. They're about 20 quid, and then you can get an NVMe drive, like maybe a 500 megabytes, a gigabyte drive, which I've got attached to the Pi, and that's only about 20. So you can get a 500 gigabyte NVMe USB-C drive for about 50 quid. I mean, it's, they're pretty. That's a pretty good way of doing things as well, and they're tiny and they don't get hot. So for instance, when we're in the studio, because when we take our Pis to the show, sometimes we have to leave them overnight when we've got a network. And before we had this really, one of those expensive SanDisk kind of SSDs that's like 4 times the value of the Raspberry Pi. So I sort of felt less comfortable leaving that. But these things, they're still not free, obviously, but they're much cheaper. So yeah, well worth looking at. NVMe's in custom enclosures, because they're just like they look like memory sticks, and you just like old school memory chips, and you stick them in, put them on, and they fly. Absolutely, you should get a couple of 100 megabytes a second, possibly more, depending on the model that you buy. Okay, right. What's next? We've probably got some other topics, haven't we? What should we look at? Let's see. This looked kind of interesting. Let's see what this one's like. Klevgrand Fosfat, interesting transient processor, sound generation aspects, has an oscillator and a noise generator, so you can add this additional sort of bursts on top of the sound. I just thought it's kind of a cool looking thing. $23.99. They call it a transient fertilizer, which I thought was. I like that. I like that style. Transient fertilizer. I can see that raised the chuckle.
Let me hit you.
I mean, yeah. Yoad, I know you've been doing. You've explored the world of transients and whatnot with waves. It's a really interesting kind of area of sound sculpting, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to say that I really, really like the GUI. I really like the interface. It looks modern and slick and kind of, minimalistic, but you have representation of the waveform and all the amplitude kind of. But yeah, I really. It's kind of it speaks the kind of Ableton language of GUI design, but it has those 3D knobs which are not, which are a little bit more Native Instruments. I really like it, and I think it's cool the way you can. You can add noise to stuff, which is always nice. Noise is great. Is our friend.
Yeah. Great.
When it's not constant and you try to get rid of it, if you tame the power of noise, then it's amazing. And transient detection it's usually a lot more efficient than broadband energy detection because it doesn't have to follow necessarily the level, but just the shape of the transient. Really like this one.
I suppose if you're putting noise in and you've got a transient shape, which will involve some sort of amplitude and filtering as well, you get a really interesting kind of spectral change. Mark, I heard you were quite excited by this one. Transient processor. They used to be terrible, didn't they? Transient processors, but now they're really good.
The iZotope ones are amazing. I know I've slightly gone off topic there, but I've put the what's that neutron thing? Is it called neutron or nectar? I can't remember what it's called. Putting that on guitars and stuff. I mean, it just brings things to life. I watched the video and I was looking at it and I was thinking, well, what it seems to be doing is just adding a bit of white noise to drum sound. So I wasn't overly impressed with it until I listened to their SoundCloud clips. And there's looking at their webpage, it looks like the people that are programming this stuff have an affinity towards drums. And if you listen to the SoundCloud clips of their stuff, so the demo clips, if you listen to the stuff that doesn't have that on it, and then the stuff that does have that on it, I nearly bought it actually, and I probably will buy it later, but it's doing to drums what I've been trying to do to drums for bloody ages. So it's like, it's adding like white noise, but in a way that it almost sounds like turning the snare on and off some of the drum things. So it really does make a massive difference. Yeah, and then go check the one with or without, whichever way around you've done it.
Can't see it. Let's have a look. Can't read it, it's too small. I've got the same problem as everybody else. It's like because I'm on this tiny screen, what does it say? Oh, I'm not seeing that. New track. Yeah. I think maybe. Oh, I need to stop that. How do I do that? That's an interesting challenge. Right.
What it says next to is all of the clips is hit spacebar.
No, I can't because it's not in a browser. It's really complicated. I'll do this.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
That'll make it go away.
So
That'll
what
make
I
it go away.
but
Sorry
what
about that.
I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Fuck. Oh, sorry. Oh God, no! Like you're going to have to bleep me now. So sorry.
There's no. We're all live here. Anyway, this looks good. It's available for $23.99, which seems like a bargain.
I didn't mean to do that.
Gaz,
sorry.
you do mastering stuff. I mean, do you ever have to process transients and things, or do you try and because you generally record a lot of the stuff as well? So I imagine there's a sort of sense of pride to a degree. It's like I don't need the transient shaping. I'm going to get it right at source.
Oh, I think it's amazing transient shaping. I remember being shown it a long time ago and become, really into it. And I remember a couple of months ago, I did a show about. I got a drum machine here called Double Trouble by a distortion pedal called Double Trouble from SCAT Technologies, and that's a distortion, but with a transient shaper on it as well. It's like really cool. I think I put the 808 through it, I think. But anyway, sorry, I digress. This is interesting. It's another interesting plugin from Klevgrand, and I think they always bring out unique angles on things. I think they're a very interesting company. I've really enjoyed many of their plugins. We've covered them over the years on the show, haven't we? That like noise reducer was brilliant. Was it Brucey? The compressor, Klevgrand, the sausage compressor. Such a brilliant compressor. What a great company Klevgrand are. So this looks really interesting. I think it's just got, to my ears, a very modern sound. That sound, I think we're going to probably hear that sound a lot over the next year or so. I think it's going to be. Were
they the ones that did we break their website once before? Was it them? I can't remember. I think it might have been where we covered it, and then the website went down. So I hope they've. If it was them, I can't remember now. But yeah, it might have been them. We do have more topics, but I must admit I'm kind of because I've got now to get myself ready to go to Bristol and see. Oh no, it's actually 10:02. We could do this. Should we have a look at the Daxophone? That was actually fairly cool. I thought. Let's do that. Let's see if we can do that. So this is Daxophone. It's a fascinating thing. This is a great find by CDM Link. I guess it was probably Peter Kern or one of his team. It's an acoustic instrument which was invented in the 80s. It was by a German typographer called Hans Reichel. Its name is derived from badger, and it sounds like a half-human, half-alien vocal. I'm paraphrasing what Peter wrote. And virtuoso Kazuhisa Uchihashi has been able to coax a whole album from it. And I'll tell you what, if I press, I wonder if I do this, it'll show up, because if I click this, it might actually work. Let's see, did I? It's going to. Let me see if I can find the actual some of the, because there's this brilliant I think it's down here. Yeah, I think you play some of it. So feel good on this. It's played with a bow and a sort of mute, and I think it's got different shaped pieces of wood which allow these sort of resonances to come through, and it's really. This is all Daxophone. Absolutely amazing. I've done it again, haven't I? I'll have to press this to stop it from playing. This was absolutely fascinating. Mark, I thought this would be right up your street. I immediately now want to play one. I think part of the reason why it works is because it's this tiny little wooden thing with a bow, but I think it's got this sort of tripod which is very, very solid. So the vibrations are really kind of contained. It'd be like putting a piece of wood in a vice, so you get just the resonances. And look, I think I want one, even though I probably couldn't play it ever, but it just looks fascinating. I bet you could sell those.
Well, I don't know if you need to be able to play it. I mean, I spend my entire life finding noises that I think sound really interesting, and when people are like going, like in hospitals when people are going, oh God, the noise of that bloody thing bleeping, doesn't that bother you? And I'm there with like my phone and koala sampler going like, oh, I've just got to get that noise, or recording the thing that's pumping the air out the wall, or any of those sorts of things. So, and I just, how it makes noise fascinates me, and I don't think I would necessarily learn to play it, but I'd probably explore lots of sounds with it and then stick them into a sampler and start making sounds and music with them. So, and I really like what it's done. I'm kind of curious to know
to do that.
Curious to know how much processing is on some of this, but some of the noises it makes are kind of like, it's almost, I mean, the bloke's name was, it sounds like kazoo, doesn't it? But I actually thought it sounded like the kazoos you blow in some of the things, and very vocal sounding. And it reminds me of Bobby McFerrin, even though it's not actually a vocal thing. So it's got vocal quality to it. It's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like,
it's absolutely
almost
amazing.
synthesized, but.
Yeah, there were a bunch of other tracks on the album. I'm trying to bring that up. I think I've got it here. Yeah, no, I haven't. So, Gaz, I think you need to introduce this into your modular. It looks. I tell you what, it reminds me of. What's the thing with all the springs? It's the Sound Garden. It's like a module. It sounds like something that company should make. I can't remember the name of it now. Perhaps the chat room will remember.
The thing is that brings it to mind. I mean, because my other big new thing in my life is I've bought a Claravox, a Moog Claravox, which is something that I've wanted from the moment I first clapped eyes on it. So the thing I'm thinking here is listening to sort of that vocal, the vocalization that he's doing. I'm kind of thinking it's got sort of some theremin sort of quality to it as well. One of the nice things with the Claravox that I'm trying though is got filter control on the foot, so you've got pitch, amplitude, and filter, the three, the three in control at once. And anyway, I digress somewhat. But yeah, I am going to see Carolina Ake. Who we interviewed at Superbooth 2018. She's performing with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra in the Royal Albert Hall as part of the Proms this year.
Whoa.
I'm going to go see her play theremin with the orchestra next August the 4th, I think, in Royal Albert Hall. So I think that's a hot ticket.
Did anyone see that thing where the organist from the Royal Albert Hall ended up playing a show with Bonobo? Have you seen that?
No.
So the crew, I think, were in there in the middle of the night, and she was practicing on the organ. And they basically went up to her and asked her to play a specific piece of music. And then the next thing she knew, she was actually part of their show the following night. So it's on Instagram or Twitter or something. Absolutely effing awesome. I mean, she's a young, very vibrant, very kind of flamboyant woman. Not who you would expect to be the organist at the Royal Albert Hall. But I thought it was kind of cool.
Anna Lapwood,
as an aside,
or Lapwood, I'm not sure what it was. Yoad, I saw you dash off there. Is that one of your Amazon purchases?
Yeah, I was looking for. It reminded me. I had this percussion thing with. It's like a little cup with skin on one side, and then it's like there's a. Yeah. But it's broken. I just saw, and you can whack. You can change the format with your palm, and it also sounds a little bit human, kind of more funny and more kind of useless, but for production work. But I mean, it's funny how things sound human. I recorded. I'm working on an expansion for Nexus, another one, and I recorded a melodica. I bought a bass melodica, or an alto, not alto. I think it's called bass melodica. It's like and I sampled it, but when you chop the attack, so you don't recognize the kind of accordion-y sort of, start of the sound. it sounds like a choir. And especially when you want to use unison and you kind of make it more detuned and stuff like that, it really does sound like almost like a mellotron type choir. And it's funny that those vibrations, because the human voice is very rich in harmonics. Human voice and saxophone, I think, are the most kind of harmonic, intense instruments. So, and it's funny how vibrating things like reeds, or in this case, the actual wood vibrations coming from the bow and all that, create such rich, harmonious or harmonically rich timbres. Interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Kazuhisa Uchihashi, that's it, has been able to cope this whole album out of it, and there's a load of tracks. I mean, that was the sort of more immediate, but there are some beautiful, other really amazing pieces on there. It's well worth looking. You could buy it. I put the link in the notes. You could buy it from gosh,
GoPro, take a photo.
Oh, you can buy it on Bandcamp. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, I'm trying to. My web browser thing isn't working at the moment, so I can't show you the web page. But yeah, if you look for singing Daxophone on SoundCloud, on Bandcamp, then you should be able to get it there. Anyway, I think now is probably a good time to quit while I'm ahead. I'm starting to get very hot in here, and I've got to shower and stuff before we go to Bristol and jump on a train, so I will. But I want to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Yoad, thank you for joining us. It's been great having you on. I hope I know your air conditioning is serving you well, because you don't look flustered or flushed or anything. So I hope you enjoy a particularly creative and productive and stress-free rest of your day.
Thank you, and I wish the same to you, or rest of the week, or life.
Rest of my life. Yeah, let's not stop at the day, shall we? Let's just say everything should be great forever. Yeah, that's a good sentiment. Thanks, Yoad. Gaz Williams, thank you for joining us. Are you doing a show tonight, or are you?
No, not tonight, I'm afraid. Not going to be doing the show for a few weeks, but I've got some good things going to happen, so it is coming back. So thank you for people for sticking with me for things. But yeah, thanks very much for being on here. Really enjoyed it, and thanks for the Steve Davis thing at the top of the show. Really appreciated that.
Are you around tomorrow, by perchance? Are you going to come and meet Rich and the gang for lunch?
Ooh,
I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah, I asked you about that. I'm going to go and try and find a venue tonight, and then
I'm meant to be having a studio session tomorrow, but there's something hasn't come through as of yet. So,
okay,
yeah. Cool.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be great. Well, hopefully we'll get everybody in. And Mark, thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm glad we got your audio working finally. I think it was third attempt, but
I had to go back to the old iMac, not iMac, Mac Mini. I've got my studio is now 2 Mac Minis, the old one, the i7 quad thing, and the M1. And I don't know why the M1 just wouldn't see my audio interface in this browser. I mean, obviously it works fine for making music, but
bizarre. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I don't know. Yeah, now we're on this little Zoom thing, which I really like. But it's really nice to come back, actually, because I've not done this for ages, have I? When was I last on?
It must be
a year ago, wasn't it, or something? So
it must be getting on for a year. I think something along those lines. Yeah.
I've decided that I'm going to go back to being. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on. Carry on.
Asperger's. It's like he interrupts everything. I've decided I'm going to go back to being a musician. That's what I was going to say. So I spend more time writing music and being on the computer doing mixing and all that sort of stuff rather than running a music shop. And I might change what the music shop actually is there for. And I'm having a discussion with somebody this Thursday about how it could become more of a platform for creative people to kind of show up in Glastonbury and do stuff rather than a place that sells things. So
right.
I don't know, I might be able to come on a little bit more. You never know.
Exciting times. Okay,
yes,
well, that's it for
indeed.
this time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will now sail off into the sunset. I'm hoping that this bit works because, frankly, nothing else has been working today. I blame the heat. Anyway, that's Sonic Talk episode 719. We'll all see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.